The Asylum Studios must be a literal asylum. For those who don't know, the Asylum is a studio mainly known for its mockbusters, low quality rip-offs of Hollywood blockbusters, with such films as Transmorphers, Snakes on a Train, and Independence Day. They put the apostrophe after the S. Is that even allowed? Trying to capitalise on that film's release by hoping that someone's granny would mistake their film for the actual one. Yeah, Richie, here's that new film you wanted to see, Atlantic Rift. Nan, that film is still in cinema. How do you keep falling for these? There's a reason why you're called Dick. But they are also known for their out there creature features, one of them being Sharknado, which did find a cult following, which I was swept up in a bit. The first two were and giggles, but I stopped at the third because I thought it got too self-aware for its own good, but that's a subject for another time. But other than that, I really didn't bother with the Asylum. I understand the appeal, but I don't fancy wasting my time on a cheap laugh that I'm not even gonna remember. So I just steered clear of them. Until now. Because I come across this piece of shit. Titanic 2. Yep, they f***ing went there. But with a title like that, I had to. It's captivating at the moronic level.
What does that mean?
Anyway, I think we've wasted enough time. Let's start talking about Titanic 2. The film is set during the voyage of Titanic 2, following the same route as its predecessor. We follow Hayden, the ship's designer, Amy, the ship's nurse, and her father, Coast Guard Captain James, flies to Greenland to meet Dr. Kim, telling him about the ice falling from the glacier, during which a giant chunk breaks off, causing a tsunami that smashes into the Titanic 2. And now Amy and Hayden have to fight to survive, and James has to fly to them before the ship sinks. First off, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This movie is bad.
I fucking knew it!
The question is, where do I start? The characters are generic and bland as they come. Hayden is a big shot ship designer. Don't know why, he's a fucking idiot. The ship hasn't been fully tested at sea yet. And I mean, who creates lifeboats just for show?
You fucking donkey!
Well, it turns out he's not that uptight. He does stick around to help out when disaster strikes. But this guy has no leading hero presence. Shane Van Dyke has zero charisma or likability. Whose idea was it to have him in this role? Wait a minute. Ah, okay, now it makes sense. By the way, he is the actual grandson of Dick Van Dyke. He must be so proud. Also, there's Amy, and Amy and Hayden used to be a thing, and that's about it. There really isn't much to her other than that and her being the ship's nurse. But her and Hayden are meant for each other, because she's also at her job, and her dad doesn't like Hayden, which ends up being nothing by the end. Speaking of her dad, James is probably the best character out of the entire film, mainly down to Bruce Davison's performance, because he kinda gives a shit. He can grasp the seriousness of the situation. Well, kinda. There was this one scene on the glacier where the ice started to break. What happened there? Did he forget to sway? From the way things looked, she had to do it for the both of them, because he's too busy thinking about his dinner. But he does show somewhat genuine concern for his daughter, but that's really hard to do when the script is as cookie cutter as this one. Now, before we talk about the story, I want to talk about the special effects. Or just the effects. The first thing that sticks out to me is the overly obvious green screen. Now, I used to use green screen in my videos, and Titanic 2 is not far from this, only being slightly better, which ends up looking fuzzy, and at some points things like hair fall through the background. As for everything else, it's standard Asylum affair. All the effects look like PS2 cutscenes. In fact, any time I saw the helicopter, all I could think about was,
No! Don't go!
But the film is not about the helicopter, it's about the Titanic. I bet they put all their efforts into the ship. So let's have a look. majestic. Seriously though, it looked almost identical to the animated ship segment from the Teletubbies. And then there's the moment where the tsunami crashes into the ship. It's all just one big massive blur, and it's not lighted well enough either. But it might have been intentional to hide its shortcomings, which actually ends up making it worse. Also, I want to call out this amazing bit of editing. I don't know why, it's just perfect.
Right.
But I did think some of the sets were okay, if a bit makeshift. I mean, the deck and the helicopter are just about believable, and the wall below deck looks convincing, but those scenes where they're running around in the hallways just took me out of it. They just look like they're running around the back of some Costco. And at some points, we were on a submarine. We weren't on a submarine. If you've seen films like Crimson Tide and The Hunt for Red October, everything is compact into a small space, even on the bridge. But here, it looks like you have enough room to play a game of football. The English kind, not the American kind. Although, it does make sense both ways.
Let's get this cigar smoked.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
To be honest, I didn't see the point of the subs anyway. They only end up getting destroyed. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the story. It's really bad. So here are the highlights. The idea of a big enough piece of ice breaking off to cause a tsunami is incredibly far-fetched. The reason why I think they did this was because they wanted it to look like history was repeating itself, but not in a direct way. So they combined the iceberg with a tsunami. Or it's just the Asylum throwing random shit at the walls, I don't know. The film opens with a huge piece of ice breaking off, causing a massive wave that ends up killing a surfer. But when James goes to where I believe the same block of ice broke off from, I'm confused.
You want to tell me what the hell I'm looking at?
Yesterday's collapse.
Jesus.
What am I looking at here? We are not shown what used to be here. So how the f are we supposed to know how big it was? Are you expecting our imaginations to fill in the blanks? Are you guys lazy as well as cheap? I'm not exactly gasping in horror here. I mean, I could try.
You want to tell me what the hell I'm looking at?
Yesterday's collapse.
Nope, still confused. And now we get on the ship and it's not any better. You're just waiting for the ship to start sinking. That's where most of the fun happens. And part of the fun is seeing how the dialogue is. Like the damage report scene on the bridge.
What about the boats on deck? Those are showboats. They don't even float. The bulkheads.
The watertight bulkheads were designed for a head-on collision. We never anticipated being hit from the side.
What are you saying?
Waffle Wednesday is cancelled. Because we can't make any batter to make the waffles. Because you know, the Yanks love waffles. The ship is f***ing sinking. Why did you need to even ask that question? And you're the sodding captain.
You stupid, stupid bastard!
I also have to mention some of the extras, because some of them are just gems. As the ship is about to set sail, some wave goodbye on deck. Some of them look like they'd rather be anywhere else. Like this guy. He looks like he's not fussed about being on a cruise. And this guy is more than happy enough to scratch his nose on camera. And when the ship does start sinking, it just looks like they weren't directed at all. Some were running upstairs, some were running downstairs, some were unconvincingly falling over. This guy didn't know what to do. And this guy, oh, this guy, he's just loving life. Hands in his pockets, couldn't give two shits. And this woman is just catching on. Oh, I'm supposed to run now. Oh, okay, getting back to the nonsensical world of Titanic 2, Hayden stays on board to help Amy. They first go to Kelly, who is injured, and they seal the wound. Now, stay with me here, I'm not joking when I say this. They seal the wound with a credit card and a bit of tape.
Oh.
Hayden gets a f***ing credit card from his wallet, and Amy uses it and some tape to stop the bleeding. And they both looked in the medical cabinets. I saw at least 3 things they could seal the wound with. But they went with a bit of plastic? Who trained you to be a nurse? Harold Shipman? Back on the helicopter, we find out a bigger tsunami is on its way. This is Kim, by the way. She's a glaciologist. The helicopter is low on fuel and they attempt a mid-air refuel. And they do this not far above the water, because it's not like a huge tsunami is heading towards them. a tsunami is heading towards them. The helicopter managed to avoid it, but the cargo plane got swallowed up. Is she laughing? Well, if she thinks this is funny, she's going to piss herself when she sees the shipwreck. Back on the ship, for some reason, the engine explodes.
Let's get this cigar smoking.
Hayden, Amy and Kelly are now stuck in an elevator, and they climb their way up the shaft. The weird thing is though, the two women were climbing ahead of Hayden, and when they get to the top, he's the one opening the door and pulling them up. That doesn't make sense, unless grandson Van Dyke thought, continuity, I just want a good view, if you get what I mean. Now, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but one of the first shots of this film was a close-up of Kelly's rear, and then there's him walking with girls in his arm. And one wasn't wearing a bra. But again, I'm probably looking into this too much. So the three come across the sealed door, and Hayden tries to pry open with an axe. Wow, that looks like a real struggle. The only thing I'm struggling with is believing that f***ing door is sealed. And that's not even the silliest thing. Amy tries to fit through the gap, but then...
Get through!
Hayden, the axe!
I know! Pull it back! What the fuck happened there?
She just ends up getting crushed. But that's okay. We can use a bit of wire and a Bumblebee action figure, and we can squeeze her organs back into place. That scene was hilarious. I mean, there was only one thing that could make that scene better. Let me just step over you. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Sorry, I stepped in your eye. There we go. Sorry that you're dead. Then there is the moment where water starts rushing through. Actually, it's more of a light sprinkle. I've seen bigger leaks under a kitchen sink. And it can't have been that bad because they stopped moments later to climb along a pipe to cross over a live wire in water. It's at this point where I'm not really having fun anymore. I know people have fun with films that are so bad they are good. And I can get into that too. Again, I enjoyed the first two Sharknado films, but I think I've laughed at everything there is to laugh at. They come across a crew member stuck in the engine room, and they try to save him, I think.
Listen to me! The door's jammed! Can you find another way through? Are you there?
Bless you.
Son of a bitch! I killed him.
Hayden, it's not your fault.
It is my fault.
Well, yeah, it is. The ship wasn't ready, had faulty engines that blew up, bulkheads that couldn't stand up to being hit on the side, lifeboats made for display only, no bandages in medical, and hiring a lousy nurse using a Barclay card to seal a wound. It's a complete and utter show. So yeah, it's your fault.
I killed him.
Hayden, it's not your...
Shut up, bitch!
They head to the diving facility, because you know all cruise ships have those, and Hayden tells Amy to change into the only diving suit. Again, not speculating anything, Mr. Van Dyke, but I think she's grateful that she's wearing a bra. The second tsunami hits and they get into a closet to shield themselves from it. They both end up getting trapped, and Hayden tells Amy to use the only oxygen tank. And he says...
They probably already gotten the signal.
Hold on a second.
They can find you.
What about you?
I drowned. If they get here soon enough, I could be revived.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Even Amy says you can share the oxygen. That makes more sense. James finally arrives and is about to dive in to save them. He hands Kim a bunch of yellow rope so he can use it to guide his way back. He dives in holding it, only not to be holding it when entering the water, and doesn't have it on him the entire time he's diving.
Oh, for God's sake.
Remembering the Asylum's motto. Continuity. The chopper runs out of fuel, so Elliot tells Kim to jump into the sea. Oh, this is Elliot, by the way. He's the chopper pilot. The chopper crashes and he dies. Hayden does end up drowning, but James shows up and swims them to the surface. Now, I'm no diver, but I'm sure those tubes are supposed to be connected. I'm pretty sure they should be drowning by now. Oh, and look, there's the rope from earlier. I'm so glad they haven't forgotten about it completely, because, you know, that would be stupid. Amy tries to resuscitate Hayden, but he's too far gone and ends up dying.
Well, that's just fucking great! Oh, great! You know what that is? Do you know what that is?
Great.
That's just fucking great!
Or maybe she's also bad at resuscitation. I mean, this is a woman who uses a Tesco club card to seal a hole in your stomach. And the film just ends. Yeah, it just ends. So, what happened to the passengers?
Everyone died. The end.
Yeah, more or less, everyone dies. And yes, again, it's all Hayden's fault. And for some reason, this film wants me to be sad for him. Fuck off. So, Titanic 2 doesn't hit all the Asylum notes. Cliché storytelling with crazy premise. Check. Mediocre performances. Check. Low quality visuals. Check. Obvious green screen. Check. Still fun to watch though? Check. I know these films have their followers. And good, I'm not going to stop you from enjoying what you like, and I'm not going to crap all over the Asylum either, because as bad as their product can be, they make it work and find some success with it. I mean, they have been around for 27 years now, so good on them. But whilst I did find some fun with Titanic 2, I felt like I was crawling to the end within the last half an hour, because I didn't find it fun anymore. I'm not impartial to a film that's so bad it's good. I mean, I still find The Room a blast, but even I have to admit I jump a few scenes just to get to the good stuff. I think the key to enjoying these films is getting a few mates together with a few brews. Actually, a lot of brews. And that's what I think you should do with Titanic 2. But other than that, I don't see myself doing a rewatch of this. And like the Titanic itself, I hope it stays on the ocean floor. They made a sequel.
What? Why? Why?
And that was my review of Titanic 2. But what do you guys think? Have you seen the film? If you have, what's your favourite part? And if you watch Asylum films, what's your favourite film? And what's your favourite film that's so bad it's good? Comment down below and let me in the know. And that's about everything for today, my friends, and thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you saw, make sure you like, share and subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and follow me on Facebook, X and Instagram. I've been Titch. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
Mobsters beating up a shopkeeper for protection money. Very naughty. Shopkeepers not paying their protection money. Exactly as naughty. I saw that.
Tell me when, sir!
No!
But two things kept running through my mind. Would we get to the men in time? And why did I bring helium instead of air?
Oh, wait, listen.
I hear it.
It's getting louder, we're close.
I can't breathe! Help me! Help me!
That's jammed, it's hotter than hell!
Help, I'm stuck!
Who's there?
Oh, God, you bastard, Eddie! Oh, why do you never flush the toilet?